I can see. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Community Network's first webinar of the year. January is National Mentoring Month, and we realize that mentoring and supporting are nuanced. They are alike, they are different. But in the spirit of kicking things off well in the new year, particularly with all that we're facing right now with ACP and all of the work that we're hit with immediately, we thought it was a great idea to talk about ways to support digital navigators. That's why we're here today, because we believe in supporting them so that they are healthy, confident, and well equipped to go out and provide that vital support to everyone else. Here's what we'd like to do today. Here in just 1 second, I'll introduce our CTN leaders who are on the call. Then we'll hear a special introduction from Cami, who's already been chatting us up. We'll move into some specific support strategies and resources, and we'll finish with a Q&A and a raffle giveaway of one of our brand new e-learning courses that touches on this subject. The presentation today is not from that course. That course is completely unique, but it's very exciting. So here are the CTN folks on the call today. We have Cami Griffiths, who is our co-founder and executive director. We have Sky Downing, who is my boss and supports me. She heads up the entire capacity building initiative, which is all of our courses, all of the curriculum. She's our partners and programs director. My name is Becca Wright. I realize I didn't introduce myself before. I'm Becca. I work on the digitalLIFT team as an administrative manager. And my co-pilot, who is facilitating and doing all of the moving parts, is Jess Pasquarello. She just recently got promoted to marketing and communications director. So that is us. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Cami for her special remarks and special introduction. I'm so glad that Cami agreed to this. This webinar series was her idea, and she was fully in support, pun intended, fully in support of kicking off the webinar with this topic. I can speak personally, working for Cami. She values us professionally. She has very high standards of her staff professionally, but she 100% recognizes that we are whole individuals with complex responsibilities and priorities and challenges in our lives. And that is how she shows up at work. She shows up as a strong leader who is also willing, when appropriate, to be transparent and to be just a little bit vulnerable, and to let us know that, just like the magazine says, she's human just like we are. Cami Griffiths, she's just like us. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Cami.
Well, thank you, Becca. I'm glad you didn't make me cry this time. She says such nice things, I get all weepy. Well, I just love talking about digital equity and helping people get connected. It is like, I'm boring at parties because this is literally all I talk about. So like, yay, you're here at my party to talk about digital equity. Well, specifically, how do we support digital navigators? So I'm going to talk a little bit about Community Tech Network and this webinar series and why it's important for us to support digital navigators. So Community Tech Network, we're dedicated to transforming lives through digital equity, and we've been doing it for 15 years. And as some co-founders have been doing it since the very beginning, but I've been doing this work for 20 years. I started out as a volunteer for the Parks Department in New York City, which I'll talk about in a few slides. But when we started 15 years ago, we were only offering classes in person at our partner locations that were housing developments or senior centers or libraries. But we've changed over time. Technology changed, COVID happened. And so now we offer virtual classes as well as in person. We're also helping other organizations launch their own programs like ours. And we have trainers, our staff, training staff is very diverse. And together they all speak like 8 different languages. So what we are recognizing is that a lot of the people that aren't online are older, they don't speak English, they are new to America, they're, you know, re-entry. And we really want to support that population of people. And I feel like we're doing that really well because we, in many cases, like I started as a volunteer, like I know this work from the ground up. So, and we're also still utilizing volunteers as well as paid instructors. So as far as this webinar series, the need is great right now because we know that Digital Equity Act funding is coming. Because of COVID, more money was made available through ARPA and different funding streams. Lots of programs are bubbling up. I just learned about Lead for America. I was like, or Connect America. There's a couple of different programs out there. I'm like, yes, this is happening. We're getting the people on the ground doing this work, and those people need training and need support. If they don't, they get sad and they go away. And so that's why I just don't want my staff to get sad and go away. So I do all these things to keep them. So the webinar series, I'm going to say a few of the ones that are coming up, and I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but next month we're going to talk about culturally inclusive digital equity curriculum and really thinking about what the community that you're serving and their cultural needs and how you can customize your training for them and not just take something off the internet and Google translate it and then here you go. Probably not so good. We've also been learning about AI. So our March webinar will be about AI and digital inclusion. And then April is celebrating libraries because libraries were the original digital navigators. So raise your hand if you're a librarian or working in a library out there. Yay for you all. And then the last one I'll mention is in May, and we'll talk about trauma-informed capacity building. So, you know, because we've been doing this work for 15 years, we know it really well. We're excellent at teaching adults. And now we can layer on all this other good stuff that's coming at us. So we're really well poised to support all of you in this journey that you're on to helping your community get connected. And the importance of supporting digital navigators is that really we all need support. And I've been in this, I mean, I'm over 50 years old. I've been doing this so long, like I've made so many mistakes. I've had my managers make mistakes that then affected me. So what I'm trying to do is not make those mistakes, like learn from the mistakes and recognize we all need support. We need flexible schedules. We need people to recognize when you're struggling and when you need somebody to help, when you need some help. So as a manager of digital navigators, can you stay in tune with what they need? Because they might not ask for the help. They might be like, oh, I'm fine, right? And really, they're not fine. So, but the more support we can provide them, the better they will do. They'll make fewer mistakes. They'll stick around because they're feeling supported. And there's all sorts of fun things that you can do. And I get all of this takes time and some of it takes money. So it's unrealistic to expect you to do this all immediately. But certainly there are some things that you can do that don't cost money, but just have a, you know, I'm going to give some examples in a few slides. So next slide, please. So I feel like there's one other slide that you jumped over, how we're supporting our staff. Okay, cool, thank you. So our experience, what I think is interesting is our mission is to transform lives through digital equity, and we do that through these computer classes. And the classes are the curriculum is based on adult learning principles. So we're really good at understanding adults and how they learn and their motivation. And so we're also baking that into how we support our staff, that not everyone rolls out of bed in the morning knowing how to use Salesforce. So you have to have a training. You know, Salesforce is just an easy example because it's hard to use. So providing the right kind of the right kind of training to your staff, that we want to support them in their professional development. if there's a conference in the area that we can send them to, they can network with their peers. Having them attend webinars like this one, especially when they're free, whatever you can provide to them that will enrich them and give them ideas and motivation, and then they'll feel they could also feel like special and supported by your efforts. It is mentoring month, and I was doing a little research preparing for this and came across this really great paper. Let me bring it up, or I will just put it in the chat. There you go. Where it's showing the kind of the difference between mentoring youth and mentoring adults, because when you think of mentoring, often you think about adults mentoring youth, but adults can mentor adults. And so this document does a really great job of showing how that's done. And it could be very informal, or it could be very structured and very formal. Some of the things we've done to support our staff is we've had some virtual, we don't call them happy hours because not everyone drinks, but we call them virtual social hours. And it's actually really hard to have conversations with your coworkers where you don't talk about your job. So it's like, okay, you're getting real close to talking about your job. So, with light and fluffy, travel, pets, fun stuff, but really giving our staff a chance to get to know each other in a way that's different than how they would if they were working on a project together. We have every other week staff meetings where we have an icebreaker that allows us to peek into each other's lives in a way that we get to know each other a little bit better. We just implemented half-day Fridays, so people get the same amount of money. They just aren't expected to work 4 hours. They're expected to work 4 hours less on Friday. I personally have had a hard time with this. This is too much work to do. But we're doing that because we want people to go have a life and enjoy work away from your laptop. We are very flexible with schedules, and I guess with the digital navigators, I'm not sure how much flexibility, because you have a class that's at this time, you need to be here. But the idea that we're not all going to be on the clock at 9 a.m. and done at 5, that's before. What we're looking at now for the working world and people, us humans that want to have a life, we will do our jobs, but the idea that you have to be at your desk at 9 and that whole thing is just come on, let's be real. So just being a little more flexible with people's schedules and understanding that sometimes we need to take our kid to the doctor, or that I just need to go get my nails done. It's okay to go get your nails done in the middle of the workday. At least that's my perspective. So then last but not least is we developed a sabbatical system. I took my first sabbatical this summer, which was amazing. And we're going to give our all full-time employees every 7 years. See, retention. Every 7 years, take a sabbatical. So logistically, it's going to be a little challenging, because how do you then replace someone for 3 months? It's a thing we're dealing with. But again, recognizing that people, if they've spent 7 years of their life with you, they deserve a little bit of a break. So that's how we're supporting our staff. As far as professional development, we have a working group specifically for professional development. They're talking about ways to support staff. They have their own presentations that they give every few months. And we have a training available through this tool that we use called Insperity, that does our payroll and our bookkeeping, our payroll and our vacation accrual and all that good stuff. So training is available, and there's plenty of training out there. All right, next slide. So this is a funny little story, and I'll be quick because I know that I'm not the star of the show, but that the reason why, one of the things that happened to me that was instrumental in kind of setting me on this course is that I volunteered for the Parks Department in New York City. I got a job a few months later, but my very first experience was going to Staten Island for the first time. They were like, yeah, come and volunteer for us, stranger. They didn't know me for anybody. They didn't ask me for a background check, nothing. So I show up at the computer lab, and I don't even know if I had taken my jacket off yet. And they're like, okay, Cammie's going to tell you how to minimize, maximize, and close a window. And I'd never been a trainer before. I'd never done any of that before. So luckily I didn't have a heart attack and die. I was just like, okay. feeling very awkward and very much like I should just run home, which I did not, but I got through it. But it just led me to believe that there are agencies out there that will take a stranger in and immediately set them in front of their clients to do some instruction. Clearly, they thought I had some experience, which I did not. So hopefully you are doing more of an orientation and a training than I received, but it really made a big impact on me because it really put me in an uncomfortable position. And I've seen other people in a training position where they don't really know what they're talking about. And some people are okay with that. Maybe they don't realize they don't know what they're talking about, but other people, like, they're fumbling around and they feel uncomfortable. So whatever we can do to support our instructors before they go out there and feel like they're being, you know, asked to explain something that they don't know how to explain, therefore looking stupid in front of others and all those other kind of things that make you feel yucky. So that's a big motivator for me. And I'm going to, the final slide is, oh, I see, never mind. I had moved it around and now it was moved around. So that is all. What I'm going to say is that because of my experience in New York and because of other experiences I had in my professional environment, my professional life, I've taken all of those nuggets and made them that feed into how I want to see CTN be and how we want to be with our digital navigators, our volunteers, and our partners. So thanks, Becca, for including me. And I'm going to be answering questions on the chat if folks have anything they want to ask me, or if you want a specific resource that I might know about, just let me know. Thanks, Becca.
Thank you, Cami, and I'm sorry for fumbling the slides on my end. And thank you all for being patient too with the notifications of the new attendance. I'll make sure that I get that fixed for next time. I know that that can be distracting. What we want to do very quickly, because we know that attendants today are have a variety of experience and your roles are quite different. I would like for us to do a poll real quick. Jess, can you get that started? It's 3 quick questions. You'll see it pop up. There we go. Does your office organization have a support system in place for staff navigators? Yes or no? In your opinion, is your organization support system adequate? Do you feel equipped to provide support and perhaps mentorship to your staff? This is very interesting. Some of these are neck and neck. I'm going to give it just a few more seconds. Also, as you're finishing up the poll, as Cami said, please do enter any questions or comments in the chat. We're about to move into sort of the strategies portion. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that we address as many as we can in the Q&A. So it looks like we're just about done here. It looks like of those who are on the call, 64% versus 36% have some kind of support system in place. Is that support system adequate? The majority says no, not adequate. And then how do you feel? Do you feel equipped? That is pretty neck and neck of yes and no. I'm going to end the poll. Hopefully this next portion of the presentation can help all of us, whether we're the ones wanting to be supported or to provide support. I'm going to spend just a few minutes on this topic. I am not an expert. I think, judging from the poll, none of us think that we're experts, right? But this is an enormous topic. We could pick any of these slides, and that could be an entire year's worth of webinars, right? So I do want to recognize that this is enormous. There's no way that we can cover everything, Jess, our co-pilot, is going to be inserting some additional resources along the way if you want to save those, if you want to look into those. But I thought that we could address how to support our digital navigators in three big categories. And they're big. The first is professionally. The second is regarding mental health. We call it mental health, etc. And the last portion is material needs. In preparing for this, I did a quick web search on, literally, how to support digital navigators. And what popped up were pages and pages of how digital navigators provide support to the community. And I thought that that was very telling. It's probably like if you did a search for how to support a caregiver, right? The caregiver is the one providing support. So I think that this is a great way to kick off the year. And we're going to look first at professional support because those are the environments that we find ourselves in, right? The volunteers are working for a professional organization. Many of our digital navigators and tutors are employed, and this is their work. So how can we support them to do their job? And how can we support them in their job? What does your staff need to do? Do you know? Do they know? Cami alluded to this. One of the most helpful things that we can do is actually outline roles and responsibilities for our digital navigators. What are they expected to do? And are those expectations reasonable? For the amount of time that they work per week, in the type of environment that they work, do those things align? Is that supportive? Is that a reasonable expectation? Do they have the equipment and the information that they need? Cami's horrendous first experience volunteering, in that position, she did not have the information that she needed. She was put on the spot to teach something. She wasn't expecting it, and she had to fumble her way through it. And that doesn't feel good to anyone. Lastly, if you are in a position, if you're in a leadership position over navigators, are you reviewing their work and responding to them in a timely manner? Are you, to the extent that you can be in your busy life, are you making sure that you are available to them and that you're giving them the professional answers that they need? One cheat sheet for you would be creating a list of resources. Hopefully everybody on this call does this in their organization. You can create a handout, you can create a Google Doc, some kind of living document that everyone can access that includes the resources that the navigators and staff need on a daily basis. It includes the points of contact. It includes the helpful resources. It includes the URLs. It includes the locations, the phone numbers, the emails, all the things that anyone would need, hopefully in an organized manner. Another thing that you can do here is solicit feedback from your staff. So is this helpful to them? What else would they like to see on this? Are they free? Do they have editing access so that they can add other information? Is somebody helping to keep it organized so that when you need to find things quickly, you can? That is a very practical, extremely helpful way that you can provide professional support in your organization. Are you doing regular check-ins? And what do those look like? Do your regular check-ins need to be an environment where you go through your to-do list of everything that you want the navigator to do? Is that a check-in? Or is that more like an army drill? Hopefully a check-in can be one-on-one, can be at a good time, can be, short and sweet, and can be sandwiched, the praise sandwich. If you've ever graded papers, first of all, God bless you. And second of all, there's the praise sandwich of what they're doing well, what could use some improvement, and some areas where they're just almost there. The check-in does not have to just be that, but it would be great if it wasn't just a to-do list of everything that they need to do. It would be great if the navigator has a little bit of space to ask questions, to admit any areas where they feel like they could use help or that they could use support. It would be great if you would solicit from them what they think they're doing well in, because maybe that matches up with what you think and maybe it doesn't. But it's great visibility. So that one-on-one time develops a good rapport between you and your navigator. It helps them get comfortable with you. And one other thing that you could do, because I know many of you are like, we don't need extra responsibilities. Maybe if you have leaders on your team, you could set up like peer support systems where a more experienced navigator takes a less experienced navigator under their wing and they do one-on-ones. This is great for everyone. It helps the new navigator. It develops cohesion and teamwork and a great morale in your environment. And it also gives your more advanced navigator leadership opportunities before they're actually promoted or before they're technically moved up the chain, as it were. This prepares them for that. You knew that it was coming. You can professionally support your staff by modeling professional behavior. We're not saying modeling perfect behavior. But just like I was flattering Kimmy when she was coming on, I think that there is space to be a good professional leader and also be a human in front of others. It sets a very good professional standard. Sky Downing, who leads our capacity building branch, she is my boss. And sometimes when we're in meetings and I've messed up, or maybe our team didn't see something coming, and we're kind of in that mode of, oh no, I made an error. Sky almost always says, hey, guess what? You're human. Hey, guess what? We're human. And that has been such a big help because it's true. Perfectionism is not the goal, and failure can be used as a valuable lesson. So the first area is considerations for how to professionally support your staff. Mental health, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, support. This is such a huge topic. We live in a time where it's wonderful that many of these issues are starting to be addressed. In this presentation, we're approaching mental health support as a way to create some psychological safety in the workplace. And I'm sure you recognize all of these words. One thing that we can do to psychologically support our staff is, on the last slide, we talked about how helpful it is for staff to know what their responsibilities are. It's just as helpful for them to know what their responsibilities are not. And so when I say boundaries, I mean professional boundaries. With all of the things that they are expected to do in the workplace, are you making it clear to them what they are not expected to do? Are you articulating boundaries? Some of those things may be respecting their working hours. However, your office has the lab hours or the classes or the office hours, however that is set up, is that being overtly respected? Emails are only coming across during those times. If texting is allowed, work texting or WhatsApp, that is only happening during those times. If for some reason contact has to be made outside of those hours because, hey, this is life, is that being acknowledged? Is it being said, I know that I'm contacting you outside of work hours and I'm going to make this very quick. I wanted to double check one thing, and I really appreciate you picking up. I really appreciate you texting me back. Just that acknowledgement that boundaries exist is very important for all of us. In terms of responsibilities, are there boundaries being established about what navigators don't have to do? If navigators are working directly one-on-one, perhaps in someone's home or outside of the office in a different environment, you can make it clear. Today, your responsibility is to teach client so-and-so how to do email. If they ask you, to help them clean up their office or help them clean up their, space, that is not part of your responsibility. And I can help you actually create that boundary by providing you a script. Many new young staff members benefit from this greatly because they can rely on you as their boundary. They can say, oh, I realize that you need help cleaning up, but actually our policy states that my responsibility today is XYZ. My supervisor, Sky Downing, has said that this is what I'm here to do today. Letting them lean back into a prearranged script, if that's helpful, gives them something to reach for and to rely on to establish that boundary. Next, priorities. Again, this is within the context of everyone doing their job, everyone showing up and being professional. But within the confines of those work expectations, are individual priorities, number one, are they being acknowledged? Are they being respected? Perhaps we do this, for example, at CTN. If we need to block ourselves off the calendar, our policy is, if you're not available, put that on the calendar so that we know, but you don't have to be confessional about it, about what you're doing. You don't have to put, I'll be at the dentist, I'll be at the whatever. So again, as long as there is a work ethic there that is being followed, right? As long as people are doing the right thing, then recognizing that an individual has priorities is important, that they don't have to tell you exactly what it is that they're doing. They don't have to tell you what their appointments are. If they are taking a floating holiday to observe something that is important to them, that might be different than something that is important to you, that you respect that another individual's priorities are different from your own. This can extend to work styles. So this can extend to not micromanaging. It is important to do a job in line with an organization's values, but it's also important that individuals be allowed to work the way that they work best, which might be different from how you work best. And if it's working, right? Are priorities being respected in terms of some people like to talk and share and others don't? And there are clear allowances for preferences and also identity preferences. I'm lumping 400,000 things under priorities, but it is important if a person shares something about their identity, that is a priority to them and that you can respect that. Lastly, under mental health, et cetera, again, you can model healthy behavior. None of us is supposed to model perfect behavior, but you can build psychological safety and trust by yourself being a template for what healthy looks like. Cami, to go back to putting her on the spot, founded our organization. She's involved in 5 million other initiatives. And when she was talking about herself, she actually said, sometimes you got to make an appointment to get your nails done. That is an example of modeling healthy behavior. What that says to us is, hey, I'm not a person who needs to get my nails done. But what that does mean is if I need to go out and run errands and get rabbit food real quick, I can do that. And that's not going to bother the executive director of my company. Lastly, oh, a plug, I forgot. I'm almost done talking and then we're going to move into Q&A. The next webinar that we are doing is Culturally Inclusive Digital Equity Curriculum. We're going to be talking specifically about curriculum in that one, but that means any type of programmatic initiative that you have to teach digital equity to a variety of diverse cultures and ethnicities. Part of that is sensitivity practiced, trauma-informed responses, cultural understanding, being aware of any inherent or implicit biases, being aware of systemic biases that exist. Again, another big topic, but one thing that I wanted to mention is Sky Downing, our Programs of Partnership Director, is going to be talking about trauma-informed practices. So I realized that in mental health and in talking about, supporting our staff, there was so much more that we could say. And part of that will actually be presented specifically at our next webinar. And actually, you can go ahead and register for that. I believe Jess will put that in the chat if she hasn't already, but registration is already open for that. Just a little plug. I'm almost done. Lastly, little things aren't little. What type of concrete, tangible support is realistic in your working environment? Does the equipment work? I mean, right? You saw me fondling with the with the slides when Cami was presenting. That was human error, but I blame it on my laptop, okay? But how frustrating is it to work on old equipment or to work on malfunctioning or almost dead equipment? I know that this relies on funding, but can you provide the best equipment within your organization's limitations? Are you providing literal time and space for your employees? And we do mean that literally. If they're working in a lab environment, in between their appointment, do they have 5 minutes to go to the bathroom, go outside, take a break, return some texts, make an appointment? Is that being allotted for that time that they need? Do they have space? If they work with people who have needs for many hours in a row, we all know how draining that can be. Is there space for individuals to just go and be? That costs nothing, and it makes an enormous difference. You can be an advocate. We talked a little bit earlier about one-on-one mentorship between team members. If you have some clients who have more needs than others or who might be a little more high maintenance to work with, are those clients spread out across different navigators so that you don't have 1 or 2 navigators who happen to be great with the difficult people? That doesn't mean they should always get the difficult people. So are you stepping in and being an advocate in those ways for your staff and for your volunteers? They see that and they need that. And they might not explicitly tell you that they need it because they don't want you to think that they don't want to do their job. Coffee, food, a kiddie fund that goes into more coffee and food. If there's extra funding available, are you able to give some of that to the navigators in the form of bonuses or raises, or even just a pizza day or a team fun day? Is any of that going back in those concrete, tangible ways to them? And we mentioned professional development. So I will keep going because I want to get to our Q&A. Lastly, before we move into surveys and Q&A and a giveaway, this is going to be our giveaway today. So please, please, as you finish your lunch, stay with us. Complete our survey here in a second. At CTN, we are very proud to announce one of our new e-learning courses that is available. Jess will put the link in, the registration link in the chat if you're interested. This course is called Managing Digital Navigators. It is intended for nonprofit managers or leaders who of course supervise staff and who are interested in digital equity initiatives within their communities. Managing Digital Navigators is actually split up into two larger components. The first component is all about supporting digital navigators in a lot more detail than we went in today. I did not even refer back to this course in preparing this presentation. It's a very robust collection of strategies, resources, tips, methods. So that is the first part, is actually managing effectively a staff in a way that equips them with confidence and good resilience in their work. The second half is entirely programmatic. So the second half is, how do you develop and maintain and scale and grow your own initiatives? So it covers things like asset mapping. It covers things like case studies for growth. So I just did want to make clear that although this course is very robust with management styles, it also includes a larger programmatic capability. So stay on so that Sky can do the raffle and maybe you can win that. 3 seconds for reflection. Why are you here today? Why did this sound interesting to you? Why are you taking the time out of your extraordinarily busy and demanding schedule to be here? Support comes in many forms. Think about this in 2 ways. What are 1 to 2 specific, concrete things that you can do that are realistic for you and your organization and your corporate culture? Are there ways that you could better be supported? And how might you articulate that? You may also want to reach back and think about times that you have received or have not received the support that you needed to help guide and inform your own practices. Please, please complete this survey as we have our discussion. I'm going to exit the slideshow so that we can use our remaining time for Q&A. Please do complete the survey because we look at your feedback and we consider that as a way to help us better serve you and the greater community of professionals. So I'm going to stop sharing. As you complete the survey, please do just indicate, a thumbs up or something like that. As you're doing that, I'm going to turn it over to Q&A. Jess, oh, the link does not work. We should have a couple of links in there. Thank you so much, Jess, my co-pilot. Let's please open it up to Q&A as you're doing that in the background. Thank you, Josh.
And I'll pose a question as a starter to see what folks are feeling to be like the biggest challenges in supporting. Like, what was the thing that you heard that you're like, really, how am I supposed to do that? Of all the things that we suggested.
I'll go. I think a challenge for me is, well, departmentally, uh, we have sometimes a more positive uh, culture for some of our staff. Organizationally, it can be challenging because those two things sometimes don't always walk hand in hand, the entire pathway down. So figuring out how to make some of those things align where it's then more beneficial for staff, while still adhering to organizational demands, I think is one of those challenge points.
Does anyone have thoughts or other questions? Because I understand like the layers of, I sit at a place where I'm thinking about keeping with staff retention and supporting the staff, but when it comes to delivering program, you have deliverables, you have only so much money, you have the people that you've hired for better or for worse, and trying to juggle it all. And to Jessica's point, it doesn't always, it's hard to get those to align. Do you feel like your leadership is bought into supporting the staff in this way? Because thankfully I have a vision for how to support staff, but not, that's not always, I wouldn't say a lot of all leaders have that vision. Yes, if they're volunteers. Yeah, that we didn't really dig into volunteers specifically. I can share that we've done with our volunteers, we haven't had, it hasn't been a consistent thing, but an annual awards for the volunteers, and coming up with goofy names, and in some cases like hand making awards that actually look pretty good, but really just recognizing folks for the time they've dedicated or the number of people they've worked with. And that has helped us with retention of volunteers, because it's a very different dynamic, obviously, if you're paid versus unpaid.
Sky, there's a question for you in chat. In terms of supporting team members, I have a question. You start your team meetings with a stoplight style check-in. Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. This is not an original idea by any means, so I cannot claim any ownership of it. But the red, yellow, green check-in process is basically what we would call, a pulse check, a temperature check. It's an extraordinarily non-invasive way to check in with a diverse array of people, um, to just see, hey, how are you feeling today? Um, Using the analogy of, the red light being stop, halt, crisis, important to stop. um, Yellow light meaning to, hey, I'm all right, but I'm right in the middle. And then green being, I'm good to go, rocking and rolling. With my team, we tend to have a little fun with this activity. And so sometimes we're a little limey. We might be burnt orange, it's somewhere in the middle. Um, and so, you do that kind of light overall check in. And that way, you're going to have people that share more than others, and you're going to have people that are equipped to hear people sharing more than others. And then important after you use the tool to check in with someone if they are red. So inside of the meeting, we will just check in with someone if they've indicated that they're overwhelmed. We'll ask what we can do, professionally to assist. Is there anything we can take off of your plate today? Would you, do you need to be elsewhere right now? You can go ahead and jump off of this meeting if you need to, that kind of thing. Also, we talked about flexible scheduling in this meeting, and how CTN really recognizes that and truly doesn't just advertise that we offer flexible schedules, but we really are a flexible employer. And so with that said, reminding people that they have that flexibility, because a lot of times we come to the table, we work really hard, and sometimes we have to be reminded to take the time. So gently reminding a member of your team, if they are struggling, that it's okay for them to take the time. The work will still be there. We will get it done. We work as a team. We've got your back. And then most certainly checking in with somebody if they are in a critical place, checking in with them privately after the meeting in a quiet space to see how you can help on a more personal level if you can.
Thank you, Sky. Everyone, Sky's getting ready to do our raffle. Please make sure you give us a thumbs up to let us know that you did the survey, because we're taking all of your feedback into account. Thank you so much, Jessica. We are taking all of your feedback into account for next time. So look at this. Look at her going. Sky, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Let's see here.
It looks kind of like Wheel of Fortune. I guess Wheel of Names, yeah.
Oh! Tammy Yu is the big winner. Is Tammy still on the call?
Tammy, she's here. Yay.
All right, Tammy Yu, you are the big winner. Shall we draw another name?
Do it. You're the boss.
I really feel like we should have some music that goes along with it.
Right. Jessica Black.
Oh, yay.
So Jessica Black, Tammy Yu, and we'll draw one more for good measure. It was a nice big group today. Oh, I didn't remove Tammy. Sorry. Hold on. False start. Denise Camarillo. So are all three of those people still with us on the call?
Denise, are you here? I know Tammy and Jessica are. Let's try one more.
Okay.
We are so excited. This is a $300 value and sets you up for such a great new year. What about Vicky?
Vicky Becker.
Vicky. Oh, is Vicky here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, Vicky.
All right.
Vicky and I are fellow digital navigators, so how lucky that we both got the pleasure of taking that course. Thank you all for that.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm excited.
You know what? You can go to your boss and say, we attended this webinar and here are all of the ways that you can support us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for attending today.
Everyone, yes, thank you so much. I'm putting our email in the chat, and I cannot do two things at once. lift@communitytechnetwork.org. Please, if you have other thoughts, if you have other ideas, for things that you would like to see, ways that you would like to collaborate with us, I think that you can tell we're very open to that, and we would love to hear from you. As Sky and Cami both said, thank you so much for taking valuable time out of your schedule and attending this today. We hope it's helpful. We hope that you can give and provide the support that you need. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
And to our winners, we will be in touch to get you enrolled in the product.
Thanks, team. Great job. Have a great day, everyone.